If you've ever laid awake at night wondering what really went wrong, what broke the relationship between you and that significant person in your life, and nothing seems to add up, it might be because you're looking at the wrong thing. It's not an event or even a problem, but rather it's hidden patterns that you didn't even know were there. I'm sharing this today because I've lived this estrangement stuff from every angle. I wish I would have known this stuff a lot sooner than I did, and it would have saved a lot of heartache and contention and stress. And I can tell you with confidence that once you see these patterns, you can finally start to heal them. And you'll also probably realize that they're everywhere and you've probably been surrounded by them for a very long time. Before we get into what those hidden patterns really are, I want to talk about this notion that estrangement happens because of this or that or whatever. You've probably heard me and other people say that estrangement isn't just about one thing. Yet I still hear in my comments all the time, and I still see a lot of women who are still struggling to understand what that actually means. Well, think about it. Relationships aren't built in a day, and most of them don't fall apart in a day either. Most of the time, it's a series of small things that stack up over the years. It's a hurtful comment here, a misunderstanding there, an expectation that isn't met, or a painful moment that never really got resolved. And now all those things compound on each other and create a problem. On their own, none of these moments are enough to break the bond. But when we combine them and when they stack on top of each other, they start to create a pattern that repeats itself over and over again. And when that pattern repeats enough, and all the things that those patterns cause get heavy enough, that's when the scale tips and that's when the break happens. And yet, here's the hard part about that. A lot of times we don't even realize that stuff is happening until it's too late and the damage has already been done. So let's take a look at what some of those hidden dynamics are that can quietly stack up over time. The first one is unspoken rules in the family. It's things like, we don't talk about hard stuff, or big girls don't cry, or you will show up for the holidays and you will be pleasant about it. Otherwise, there's going to be consequences. Every family system has their own set of rules. Sometimes those rules revolve around keeping the peace, or filling a specific family role, or having blind loyalty even if it's harmful to that person, but protects the family image. These rules can feel normal. They're rarely, if ever, discussed, but they can create a lot of pressure for all the family members involved. The reason these things feel normal isn't because they actually are, but because they've been around forever and they were probably passed down from generation to generation. And they were the way that our grandma did them or our mom did them. And now that's the way we're doing them. Except what happened back in our grandparents' time or even our great-grandparents' generation definitely doesn't work today. It's a completely different world than existed back then. And if we try to make the things that they did back then work in today's society, it's going to be a disaster for everyone. The second hidden dynamic is emotional roadblocks. Unfortunately, a lot of us never learned to manage conflict in healthy ways. A lot of us were taught that emotions are bad, that arguments need to be shut down, and they often end in the silent treatment or complete blow-ups that escalate to a crisis. It leaves everyone with defensiveness as the primary go-to when conflict or disagreements happen. And defensiveness is the enemy of connection, and it will keep everything spinning for everyone every time. It's kind of like just throwing barbed arrows at each other. Hidden dynamic number 3 is misaligned expectations. As parents, we often have a certain idea about what our life and our future should look like. We're going to have loving, successful, happy children. We're going to have big family gatherings where everyone gets along and has fun. There's going to be regular calls, regular connection. The grandkids are all going to sleep over, and we're going to have every wonderful holiday together. It's all those things that they see their friends bragging about on social media. And maybe, if you're lucky like I was, you actually had those things growing up yourself. But again, it's a very different time and season. I know my kids didn't have the same start in life I did, and that has made it so they don't get to experience life the same way that I did. But it's more than just that. Kids today have easy access to this stuff that only existed in Star Trek when we were growing up. And it's in their hands by elementary school or before. And that matters a whole lot more than we think it does. That's not something we can change. It just is what it is, but it has created significant shifts in family, cultural, and societal values. It's also created huge generational gaps, much more than even existed for us. Whatever is behind all of that, though, when reality doesn't match expectations, both sides are going to get hurt. Both sides are going to feel misunderstood, and both sides are going to leave extremely frustrated. And it's a breeding ground for conflict. But it also works both ways. Parents have expectations of their kids, and kids also have expectations of their parents. Those expectations aren't always fair, though. In fact, they're often rooted in fantasy or potential, not what actually is. And they create a situation where we find ourselves getting upset because the real person living the real experiences doesn't live up to what we imagined or to what we think they should know or to what we think they should be doing. Unfortunately, in a lot of cases, we become a lot more vested in our imaginary image than we do in who that other person really is and what their situation is really all about. The fourth hidden cause that I want to talk about today is unfinished business. Past hurts, whether they've been ignored or minimized, don't just disappear. That is true even if the unspoken rules demand that you just get over it. Our brains are wired for stories and resolution. They don't like open loops. They want closure. And if we don't get that kind of closure in real life, our brains are going to make up a story so that that loop can be closed and we can move on. That's actually why those past hurts and unresolved traumas keep spinning. They keep showing up in our lives over and over again, or we keep replaying them over and over again in our heads. It's because our brain is desperately trying to make sense of all of it, but it can't. So those things will still remain hot. They'll still remain active until they're fully resolved. This is true even if they happen in 10, 15, 20 years or more ago. When those things never get resolved or our attempts to seek resolution are dismissed, those interactions create an imbalance and they can shape the relationship in ways that we will probably never see coming. So what if you've gotten this far and you recognize that maybe some of those things have shown up in your life or in your family patterns? What do? Well, the first thing is don't rush in to fix it. There are no quick fixes for this stuff. Its roots probably run deeper and are a lot more tangled than you realize. And if they've already damaged a relationship, it's going to take time and effort to repair that relationship. And if you try and rush into it too fast, you'll probably do more harm than good. So take those things as an invitation to start doing your own deep healing work. I just released a really neat workbook that can help you start doing just that. And there's a link below to that in the description. What you do want to do is notice that these things are showing up. Bring them to the light. Stay consciously aware of them. Learn about them and try not to repeat them moving forward. If you do so accidentally, don't dismiss it. Take that bull by the horns and take care of it immediately. I promise a quick, sincere apology can do wonders to prevent future problems. Again, I don't share this stuff to shame anyone. If this has become a part of our life, it's because most of us were simply repeating what we had learned without even realizing it. I know I did. I was 49 before I saw the light and figured this stuff out. And it didn't come without a massive reason to do so. And it turns out I was actually an early bloomer. Many women don't see it until they're well into their 50s, 60s, and even beyond. That isn't true for your kids, though, because of how they communicate and the ability to be influenced by a much larger audience at a much earlier age than we ever were. They're hearing all of this stuff at a lot earlier age. In fact, they're hearing in elementary school what many of us Gen Xers and beyond may have actually never learned. Except our kids don't always grasp that. Our younger generations also have a lot more access to mental health information than we ever did. They also have a lot more information on building healthy relationships. In fact, it's now part of their required junior high and high school health classes, not to mention what they hear on social media. So it's very easy for them to assume that we should know this too, even though they don't realize they're being taught something that our generation never was. That doesn't give you a free pass, though. Your kids need you to catch up. They need you to join the cause. They need you to join them in saying, this is not okay. This ends with me. This ends with us. This is the work of healing generational trauma. It's not about pointing fingers. It's not about throwing shade on anybody. It's about breaking cycles so that they don't repeat themselves in your future, in your family's future, and they don't continue to keep inflicting needless pain. This video is the first in a whole series of videos I'm going to be doing about hidden patterns. In the videos that follow, I'm going to be talking about some very specific things, such as gaslighting, enmeshment, codependency, a lot of those things that we often hear about on the internet, but might take offense to if we don't know what they are. So make sure you stick around and come back to hear those, because I think they're really going to be helpful. In the meantime, check out this video right over here to dive deeper and to learn even more about these kind of things. Give it a click and I'll see you over there.